Our church worship service lasts 45 minutes. For the last 2 years, I've not been able to stand that long. 2.5 weeks into wearing the X39 patch, the pastor said, "You can now be seated." It dawned on me at that moment that, my goodness, I've been standing this whole time, didn't realize it.
After starting using the technology for approximately 2 weeks, my pain completely disappeared.
32 years of pain gone in 3 days.
I just love the products. They just help me to feel younger and younger year after year.
Thank God for X39.
My skin become younger, softer, firmer.
It's been really amazing.
I love X39 because it really helped reduce the inflammation in my knee. I can now run again. Woohoo!
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Tuesday evening introduction to LifeWave and to the star of the show, X39. And I am your co-host, Robin Blank Muscari, along with my partner, Gregory. And what we'll do this evening is Gregory's going to do a brief overview, just a very short presentation on the company, the technology, our founder, a little bit about the star of the show, and then we open things up and invite our special guest tonight, Ann Moreau, and then it's your turn. Ann will talk for a little while, and then if you have questions or you have stories you want to share, please put them in the Q&A. And I think it's time to get started, honey. What do you think?
Let's do it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and
it.
start the screen. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. And we're going to be talking about activating your stem cells. So let's get on with it. Now, before we jump into the presentation, I want to share with you a personal aha or wake up call that I had a number of years ago. I finally figured out what I want to be when I get older, and that's younger. And I bet you many of you can relate to that. So let me ask you a personal question. If anything were possible, what is one thing you'd choose to experience differently in your health, or maybe in the health of someone you love and care for? A spouse or a brother, sister, mother, someone you love and care for that maybe is dealing with a health challenge. And what difference would it make for you or them if that could be turned around and diminished, maybe eliminated? Well, with that being said, I do want to make it clear that our products are not designed or intended to heal, treat, diagnose, or cure any disease. They do, however, help bring our bodies back into a more healthy, regenerative mode, and many times wonderful things then begin to happen. So let's go ahead and get started, and let's talk about welcome to the stem cell revolution, because we believe everyone wants to look, feel, perform, and live younger. And we found that stem cells are the key because they're a vital part of our immune system that helps to repair and regenerate damaged cells in all throughout our body, all of our organs, glands, muscles, bones, skin, you name it, everywhere. Stem cells are our little repair crew. Now, here's the sad news. The problem is the older we get, the less stem cells we have, and the faster we age and the slower we heal. By age 60, only a small percentage remain. And here's a brief chart that shows how stem cells decline from the time you're a newborn to when you get into your 60s and beyond. You can see there's hardly any left. And, so what about stem cell injections? Because they become quite popular, but you know what? They're also quite expensive, painful, risky, controversial, and you know what? No guaranteed results. You could spend thousands or tens of thousands of dollars and maybe or maybe not get the results you're after. Well, here's the good news we have to share with you tonight. You can look, feel, perform, and live younger with a historic breakthrough in stem cell activation. It's a new wearable technology in patch form. It's affordable, it's safe, it's non-invasive, it's drug-free, and it's a patented form of phototherapy that uses specific frequencies of light to increase and improve stem cell activity. Now, this is the brainchild of our visionary founder and CEO, David Schmidt. And David's not only a brilliant scientist and researcher, but you know what? David is also a genius inventor with over 130 patents and patent pendings. And he's been on the leading edge of phototherapy research and science for over 20 years. We've already conducted over 80 clinical studies, proving the efficacy of LifeWave phototherapy products. And many more studies are always in the works. And that's because LifeWave is a very advanced technology company. We're 18 years old, started back in 2004 based on an energy enhancing technology developed for the Navy SEALs to increase their strength, stamina, and performance without the use of drugs, stimulants, or caffeine. It turned out to be so effective, it's now used by professional athletes around the world. We have corporate headquarters, laboratory, and manufacturing in California, Utah, and Ireland, and we're already servicing over 75 countries from our 15 global distribution centers. Now, the word's gotten out, and many athletes are recognizing the enhanced performance and recovery. And Serena Williams, David Beckham, Michael Phelps, and his whole team. If you look carefully at some of your favorite athletes and Olympians, you might see these auspicious little patches on their body, and that's LifeWave. So, how does this amazing technology work? Well, it's based on a type of light therapy called photobiomodulation. And LifeWave patches contain very specific combinations of organic materials and nanocrystals. And when they are applied or near your body, they're activated by our body heat. And they then begin to emit very specific wavelengths of light, which stimulates different targeted and beneficial biochemical responses within our body. This is called photobiomodulation. It's the basis for our LifeWave phototherapy patches and technology. And it's been a well-recognized and proven scientific principle that different frequencies of light can cause specific changes within our body. For example, when we go out in the sun, a specific frequency of light causes our body to manufacture vitamin D. We don't get a vitamin D download from the sun. We get a frequency of light download, and our body responds by manufacturing vitamin D. Likewise, another frequency of light causes our body to make melanin, the chemical that gives us a suntan. Well, LifeWave's patented technology is based on this same rock-solid, widely recognized scientific principle. Now, our focus for the last 14 years has been in the field of anti-aging and regenerative science. And 4 years ago, we released to the global market the LifeWave X39 stem cell activation patch, which truly is a historic and affordable breakthrough in stem cell technology, because we're actually doing what large corporations, big pharma can't do, and some are calling it the holy grail of restorative science and aging. And X39 actually activates copper peptide that activates our own body's stem cells, and also altering gene expression towards a younger and more vibrant you. So it's a game changer, a true breakthrough, and our founder and inventor, David Schmidt, says it's my greatest accomplishment yet, with an emphasis on yet, because he spends more time in the laboratory than he does in any office. So yes, we have patents. Yes, we have clinical studies. And yes, we have field results proving that X39 is actually turning back our biological clock, helping people to look, feel, perform, and live younger. And for us baby boomers, this is very exciting news. So Robin, that was my short summary. And sorry, I stumbled a little bit because I was modifying the slides a little earlier today and I got out of sync a little bit, but it's so good how fortunate we are. So back to you, honey.
Thank you. Thank you. That was, I actually like the changes. Constant, never ending improvement. Great job, honey. And yes, Life X39 has changed my life too. And it has for many, many people all over the world. And so it is my pleasure this evening to introduce our special guest. And she comes to us with a lot of years experience. When you look at her, you can't believe it. But she's been a registered nurse for over 45 years and a nutritionist, and she has an absolute passion to educate people on healthy living, food is medicine, healing the microbiome, the metabolic model. She is a gift to the world. She's a gift to our community. She's one of our wonderful leaders, and I want to welcome Ann Moreau.
Thank you, Robin, for having me here.
And we love having you here.
It's so much fun. I really enjoy being here and answering questions and chatting with you.
Well, fabulous. So let's jump in. Any new stories?
You know, I always have new stories, right?
I know you do. I know you do.
Well, I had one today, one that I was talking to a woman who said, I've had this like bad injury in my neck, and it's been there for 8 years. I have tried everything, and I was pretty much told that I would be living with this pain for forever, that it would never go away. And she said she went to an event that was held in Florida, and she said she got patched with X39, the stem cell patch, and she said 10 minutes later she was out of pain. And she said she got up the next morning and was still out of pain. And I spoke to her today and she's still out of pain. And she is absolutely flabbergasted. She couldn't believe it. Now, we know that doesn't always happen with people, but it did with her. And you know, it reminded me of my neighbor here who lives next door, who's an energy worker, and her partner's a chiropractor. She had the same story, identical, and she had the exact same results. So it's quite amazing. So that's one of my stories, but I want to tell one that is more personal for me, because I went to see the eye doctor about 2.5 weeks ago. And 2 years ago, I was told that I was starting to have that little film that we see that grows over the eye, and that you have to have surgery to have it removed. And he said, we're going to be watching it until it ripens, and then we'll look at scheduling your surgery. So I went back for my exam 2.5 weeks ago, and he said, I don't see the film at all. He said, and I am seeing that your eyes have, your distant vision and your near vision has improved. So they changed my script. And he said, I want to show you an image of your eyeball. And understand, I'm 70, I'll be 71 in June. And so he said, look at the blood vessels that feed your eye. He said, they are so healthy looking.
Yay.
And so I said to him, so I said, is this like different than what you typically see? And he said, you know, you're way ahead of the curve of the average 70-year-old, because usually by late 60s, 70s, people have all had this particular surgery that he was talking about. So he said, I'm not going to check you for this for another 3 years. So I was like really excited about that. I was like, yes. And it's been for me almost 3 years of using the stem cell patch consistently every day. And I think that, you know, we have to realize that staying on and being with it consistently can really impact our overall health over time. We don't necessarily feel the stem cells dying off, but we don't feel them as they increase either or get activated. And certainly getting those kind of results really allows me to see, yeah, this is really doing amazing work in my body.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, you know, I look forward to a similar story. When I went to the eye doctor, he gave me a similar situation. I said, well, let me try this light therapy for a while. He goes, Robin, you can't reverse that situation. I said, doctor, in your world, you can't, but in my world, you can.
Yeah.
And you are living proof. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you for sharing this. It just keeps getting better and better over time. That's what's so cool. Because how long have you been using the patches, Ann?
Almost 3 years. It'll be 3 years in August.
And it keeps getting better.
It does. Skin changes and eye changes. And I had a mole that fell off my chest, blood pressure better. I mean, there's a lot of things that have happened over this past year. So it's been amazing. It really has.
I love it.
Journey.
Okay.
I enjoyed it.
So let's jump in and talk about this star of the show that's doing all these amazing things for all of us. And I love waking up every day and knowing I'm going to hear miracle stories. It's a good way to live. It's a wonderful thing to share in the world, isn't it? And so we have this wonderful technology. Could you share, Ann, who is this actually for and who isn't it for?
Well, pretty much for everyone. I mean, I patched my grandkids were here over the weekend, and one of them fell and was complaining about that knee hurting, and I patched with, patch, and it was gone, within minutes. So, you can patch children. I tell people who have babies, you might, if you are going to patch them, typically we ask that the child can at least speak and tell you what's going on, age 2 and on usually. But if they're infants and you choose to do that, and if I had an infant that was, sickly, I certainly would, but I'd be paying more attention, and I'd probably be using them for shorter amounts of time, on them for sure. And then anyone that's, my mom is going to be 93 pretty soon. And it's for, anyone that's 100 and over, they can use it. The only time that the patches are not recommended is for people who are, have organ transplants, for example, because they are on anti-rejection meds, which suppress the immune system, and the stem cell patches activate or increase the immune, make it better, make your immune system better. And physicians, frown upon that. And the same with chemotherapy, that if someone is getting chemo, then they recommend that you don't use these type of patches that will improve your immune system. Again, they're trying to suppress the immune system with some of the medications they're giving. There are some alternative docs that don't buy that theory and do encourage the use of antioxidants, but your traditional chemotherapy doc may not. So you really need to check with the doctor that you're seeing.
Beautiful, beautiful. So we've got something safe for everybody, just about. It's safe, it's natural, it's affordable, and it works. Okay.
And what I love about it, because I've worked nutrition for a long time and medicine for a long time, is that you don't have to worry about, like my mom's on a bunch of medications. I've never worried about putting the patches on because it's non-transdermal. It does not enter the body. So there is no interaction with her medication. It simply improves everything. It enhances anything she's doing. So it's great.
Gotta love that. Gotta love that. Okay, so now let's say someone is just getting started and we've heard some of your stories. What can someone expect? Like, how long would it take for them to notice something?
Well, you heard the story of the quick, some people get this quick relief right away, but that's not everybody. We're all different. We all have our own history. We don't know what people have been through in their life. We don't know how long the damage has been there, and how bad the pain is. And we'd also need to figure out what acupuncture points maybe have blocked energy. So it really is different with everyone. I tell people, give it, at least 3 months, if not 6 months. In some cases, a year. I have my friend who's had very deep aching in her back. She's had that for years, and it took her about 2 months to feel the benefit. So you can see it's different for everyone. Some people, it takes 3. I know someone who a week before it had been 3 months, finally got the relief that she was looking for, so it does vary with so many people. You have to give it time. I remind people all the time, your stem cells declined over years of time, and to think that they're going to be activated, overnight, it doesn't make sense, right? You need to give your body time to regenerate. And sometimes there's a lot of inflammation in bodies. And when there's a lot of inflammation, you've got to get that inflammation down. So now you can activate the stem cell, because inflammation blocks the ability of those stem cells to get activated.
Wow, there was a lot of goodness in all those things you said. Thank you. Thank you. So the bottom line is, we don't know. Everybody's different. We do know that when they're 3 inches from your body, they start working on what's important that you may or may not notice, but they do start working right away. And like Ann said earlier, it is cumulative over time. Things get better and better and better. Okay, so in order to get maximum benefit of this technology, what do we need to do? How often do we wear it?
Dehydrate. Hydration is very important, right? Yeah. So hydration, being consistent, wearing it 12 hours on, 12 hours off. You need to give your body that break from the patch so that you don't get into what we call attenuation, which is when the body doesn't recognize the signal. If you're always wearing them, the brain is not going to recognize that signal when you're constantly wearing them. So giving your body a break from the patch is important. I want to add this. If someone is using the stem cell patch and they're maybe using another patch called Eon for inflammation, you certainly can use the stem cell patch X39 during the day, remove that one at night, and then put an Eon at night. as well. And that's fine. 12 hours on, 12 hours off. In the morning, you'll take the Eon off and put the stem cell patch back on during the day.
Okay, so water, consistency, 12 hours on, 12 hours off.
Yep.
And anything else that we need to do to make sure we get the best benefit?
Well, I always talk about overall health, right? It's lifestyle. It's what we do. You know, we need to be sleeping. We need to be exercising. We need to eat right. That means staying away from a ton of sugar. I mean, I think that, you know, on average, we just had a holiday, right? So a lot of us celebrated Easter or Passover this past weekend. And so lots of, you know, desserts and pies and sugar. And I mean, my grandkids came over with their little lollipops that they're making for themselves. And that was so sweet, you know, so we really need to consider not having, I mean, it's okay to have it periodically, but not every day. We really should be, you know, I like David Schmidt, our inventive scientist, often says the 80-20 rule, right? 80% of the time, eat healthy. And 20% of the time you can, you know, maybe consider having some other foods. But the healthier we eat, the better we're all going to feel. The more we exercise and do the things that we need to do for overall health, the better the patches will work for sure.
So I hope everyone was taking notes. We have to do our part. The patches are amazing, but we've got to do our part about how we treat our bodies, what we put in it, moving, resting, hydrating, all those things that Ann talked about. And the quality of our food is really, really important. It can totally change your life and your health. Okay, so we know what we need to do. We know it's for everybody just about. And what if someone has an experience that doesn't feel good when they put it on? What do you say to them, Ann?
Yeah, that's happened with a few of my clients and customers. You know, we have to understand, I'll tell you, I have a personal story in that, you know, I didn't know I had low glutathione levels until I got tested. And I want to talk a little bit about that particular, you know, it's the master antioxidant in your body. And as we age, that often declines. It's also your major detoxifier. So when you use the stem cell patch, X39 patch, it will raise your glutathione levels by 30%. So if you're raising your glutathione levels and they've been low, I mean, initially I had a headache when I started. And I felt a little nauseous, you know, so I had to wear the stem cell. Well, I drank more water, which helped flush the toxins out, but also wearing them for shorter amounts of time while you're going through what we call a healing crisis. Because as the body is doing the right thing, it's trying to raise those levels up, it's going to try to clear out the toxins that are inflammatory and very damaging. We need to get rid of those toxins. And so getting that level up is really important. And I couldn't wear, you know, initially I had to wear it, you know, less amount of time, but it didn't take long. It was only a few days for me and drinking a lot of water. And then I was able to wear that patch, you know, a good 12 hours and be fine. So, you know, that's the important piece is, you know, remembering that the body's always going to try to do the right thing. And sometimes when your body hasn't had or hasn't done the job effectively, you will begin to have an awakening, if you will, in the body that doesn't always feel good, right? It doesn't always feel good. But once you get over that crisis, everything starts to improve given time.
So what I'm hearing is that discomfort is temporary.
Yes.
And a way to you know, adjust to it is to wear the patches for less time. And the longer you can keep it on, the quicker you're going to get through that transition of things. I remember it happened to me and Dr. Nicholas said, "Oh, good." When I told him how much my arm was hurting, he goes, "It's working." I went, "It doesn't feel good."
Exactly.
But it's temporary. And that's the gift. It's very temporary because the body will never hurt itself. So isn't that wonderful? Well, are you ready for some questions or do you have anything else you want to share before we get into the questions?
I'm ready for questions. Let's go.
Okay. So questions and stories in the Q&A and symptoms only. Thank you very much, everybody. You're being exquisitely compliant, and we really appreciate that. That protects our company. So Shire Doc said, we have a young friend in her early 20s with brain issues, seizures nearly every day for a week. Increased her iron, and that seemed to help, but want to know an X39 product protocol.
Okay, well, I mean, I definitely would use the X39, you know, at least on the base of you know, C7, the back of the neck. But I would consider doing another added protocol. And I can share with you that I actually use this protocol with my mom, who had a brain injury herself. And it's called a hat protocol. And what you're doing for that is you're using a baseball hat, and you are putting 2 sets of energy enhancers in the hat, on each side of the hat, and you're putting a glutathione on top inside the hat, and an Eon patch. And if you don't know what those patches are, connect with the person that brought you here, because they will know, and they will also know where to locate the hat protocol. And if they don't know, they certainly can reach out to Robin or myself, and we can guide them to do that. And that hat protocol, when I put it on my mom, just to share the story, she had had that brain injury overnight. And so she was having a lot of issues with seeing, with movement, memory, that kind of stuff. And we put the hat on her at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and she wore it for 5 hours. And that night, a lot of her symptoms were gone. I continued using that hat for about 2 weeks. We then reversed the energy patches for another 2 weeks, and she's never had another issue again. So everybody's different, but that was what I personally experienced with my mom. So worth the trial, because you're moving energy through the body, and you're moving that low light energy through the body, or through the head, I should say. And when you do that, you allow repair and things to get there to heal that area of the brain.
Wow, that is exciting. When I mean, and we do have scientific evidence of you know, brain frequencies, you know, lining up, you know, that have been disrupted for, you know, like you said, a brain, you know, a TBI, a neurologically based illness, a stroke. I shouldn't say that. I caught myself. I apologize. Yeah, when things change up there in your head, or mental imbalances too, it's been really supportive. So yeah, you can go to liveyoungerproducts.com, and you'll look at the protocols, and you'll find what Ann was talking about. Okay, Margie says, I've had a pretty severe condition for 20 years, and I'm in my late 70s. Is there any chance of things getting better?
Oh my God, absolutely.
Yay!
Remember,
Yes,
my
yes,
mom's almost 93. We've had stories from 97, 98-year-old. Yes, absolutely. There are amazing stories, and, you know, get on the journey, because I promise you, you know, I don't know how long it'll take you. You know, I have a gentleman I was talking to today, and he said, I'm not really seeing the results. It's been a month. And I said to him, you've got a pretty significant, you know, condition, and it's been there for quite a while. So you really want to give it some time here. You know, you certainly can add other patches to move things along, because we find that some of the other patches can really help. And one of them that I really love is the Eon patch. So, you know, you might consider using the X39 and the Eon patch to move the healing, because Eon is going to reduce for people who have this kind of severe condition, often they have some chronic inflammation going on. So you want to reduce that inflammation, and Eon is beautiful for that. And so if you want to use X39 and the Eon, you're going to find some great, great benefits.
Fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. Thank you, thank you. The next question is from Zoom user, and I'd like you to restate that question because I don't understand it. So I'm going to move on to Shirley. What do you recommend for a slow thyroid with autoimmune condition?
So X39 always is the place to start, right? You always want to start there. You know, I want to just talk a little bit about that. When we talk about thyroid being an autoimmune condition, I always tell people that I worked with, when I work with a nutrition, you want to look at your gluten and give up gluten, because thyroid, and Dr. Amy Myers has written a book about thyroid, and she has done a lot of clinical studies on thyroid disorders, and has stated that gluten metabolically, or I should say, in molecular mimicry, looks a lot like the thyroid. So when you're ingesting gluten, the body, when in its autoimmune condition, gets confused. It's not doing the job properly, and it then thinks the thyroid is gluten. So every time you ingest gluten, the body's going to attack the thyroid. So you do yourself a favor and really get off the wheat. Wheat products are heavily sprayed today with lots of ingredients that are very damaging. Glyphosate from Roundup causes a lot of damage to the thyroid. So, absolutely consider, using X39, getting off gluten, and you might even consider using another patch called SP6, which helps balance hormones. And you might find that to be helpful as well.
Okay. Thank you. That is extremely helpful. Food can cause challenges or help you heal. And something simple that doesn't aggravate things, like getting rid of gluten, can make a huge difference for people. Thank you. Thank you. So Glenn, I'm not sure if I understand this. If I had something called asphalt top layering on my house, what would be a useful patch? I'm not sure I understand that. So why don't you restate that, Glenn, and we'll come back to that one too, okay?
I'm wondering if what he's saying is, did he, was it toxic? Was he getting toxic fumes? Yeah, I guess we'll have to wait till he restates it for sure.
Yeah, because we're not really clear on what you're asking. So, and Shirley, I've had almost 3 decades. Which patches and where, please? Well, we don't know what's going on, but does that mean you're just about 30 years old and you want to know what patches?
Well, it looks like Shirley had the question before as well. So I suspect a lot of her issues are inflammatory. So this is an inflammatory situation. So obviously X39, Eon would be very, very important. And in particular, those 2 patches would be really beneficial for sure.
Thank you. So Jada, how do you find out what acupuncture point has blocked energy? Also, I have inflammation all over my body. What should I do to get it down in order for the patches to begin to work for me? I've been using the patches for 2.5 years.
Okay, well, I think that always X39, and if that's not working for you, I really like to tell people, move the patches around. People sometimes get stuck into putting it to one place, but move them around. And if you're talking inflammation, you definitely want to add the Eon. You want to look at your diet, because if your diet is very inflammatory, and this is really easy, go on the internet, look up inflammatory foods. There, you'll find there's a list of them, and try to get rid of those from your diet, and look up anti-inflammatory foods, incorporate more of those. Things like your olive oil, your good oils are really important. A lot of people are afraid of incorporating fats, but good healthy fats are really great for inflammation. Your omega-3s, those kinds of things are very, very important. And it is about kind of playing with the body. You can also go to YouTube, look up where, your body is hurting, and put in LifeWave, put in, the body pain, and you'll find a whole bunch of things will pop up in YouTube that might help you sort of connect with, where should I place this patch, because it's going to be different for different people. And there are different providers on YouTube that are giving information related to where to patch. So you might find that very, very helpful as well.
That's great. And I love what you said, moving them around, and trust your instincts. If you get a little hunch to move it to a different spot, try it. You can't hurt anything. And see, it's nice to have a little variety, but the body has some great wisdom, so we get to listen to it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, Francine, what patches would help pain coming from the sciatic nerve, and where should I put them?
So I always start with that kind of pain. I always start with the X39 in the back of the neck. And I sometimes will put the ice wave patches, which are pain patches. They're a 2-patch system. They're tan and white. And I put them underneath the feet. And I put the tan, if the pad of the foot is here, you would go here. It's called kidney 1. You would put the tan there on the left side, and you would put the white on the right side. So you've got this sort of triangle where energy is flowing through. Now, I have worked with some people who've had really bad pain. One guy that I worked with had, the leg was so swollen. I'd never seen one as bad as that one. And I ended up using 2 sets of ice wave with him because of that level of discomfort. So I had put them under his feet, and I had put them by the area by his butt where it was bothering him. I put the tan on the most painful spot in the buttock, and I put the white, I moved the white around and found that with him below the knee seemed to work best. Sometimes it's, on the opposite side of that buttock. So it really depends on the individual. You got to play with the patches again and figure that out. But you also want to consider Eon, and I used Eon with this gentleman, and he got the best result on the top of the foot between the great toe and the second toe, right in that indentation between those toes. But you can also try putting the Eon right on top of the tan patch on your buttock as well, where that inflammation might be. So that would be what I would try doing with that. I get pretty good results doing that.
Those are great options. And I've heard David talk about, on the point of pain and then on the top of the foot and the location you talked about, because energy is basically, pain is basically stuck energy, and we're opening up the energy flow and having it move through the body. So beautiful. Well, there's a beautiful story from Christina. She wants to talk about her mom. She says, thank you, Robin and Ann and Gregory. I just wanted to share my mom is 84. She's been on the patches about 2 years. She has had all sorts of changes. She had numbness in her fingers starting in her 50s. It's all gone. Her finger was shut in a car door when she was 2, and she's 84, okay? And her finger bent outward. And Dad teased her all through these years. She heard you talk about your finger straightening out and looked at her finger and was shocked. It was as straight as the other ones. I love it. And so for those of you who haven't seen my finger, this finger was stuck like this for 20 years. And so I heard someone else say their finger straightened out and it was stuck like this. And now I can do that. So it just keeps getting better and better and better. You never know. So, take pictures. Take pictures of your face in good lighting, and take pictures if you have any scars. Amazing things happen. Okay, let's see. Anonymous is saying, can the sleep patch cause elevated BP, blood pressure, probably the next day after using it for the first time?
Well, that's a really good point, because I've heard David talk about, because what the sleep patch called Silent Night does is it does raise melatonin levels. And David has talked about that melatonin is another antioxidant. And so it may even be beneficial for detox as well. And when I think of a blood pressure going up, sometimes as the body, when I was working drug and alcohol, I worked there for 20 years. Whenever we put someone through a detox at the hospital, their blood pressure would go up for a day or two. So that was not unusual. And so, yes, that can happen. But again, give it, some time, and that'll all subside. Within the 3rd day, that should all level off. And that's what we would often see, in treatment, is that once, we got them detoxed those first 24, 48 hours, by day 3, they were doing much better, and that pressure, stabilized. So definitely can happen. I've seen it happen with detox.
Okay, that's really good information. And because a lot of times those early responses may seem like it's not what you want, when in fact the body has great wisdom and it's making the adjustments. So beautiful, beautiful. Okay, Heidi wants to know, is there a better time to wearing X39 day or night if you have sleep issues?
Well, most people wear it during the day because it tends to give them that nice even energy all day. I have a few people that use them at night because they are athletes and they exercise and they sweat, and they just find that it stays on their skin better at night. But the average person is wearing it during the day.
Okay, very good. And try it and see what works better for you. You know, as we said, everyone's different. Okay. Abby says she has a friend with swelling in her legs and the doctors don't know what's causing it. And so I'm assuming she wants to know, what patches would you recommend and where?
You know, it's hard when you talk about swelling in the legs because we don't know the cause, right? Is this a cardiovascular issue? Is it lymphatics? I mean, we really don't know what the cause is, but certainly I would tend to, my thought would be X39 and X49. And the reason that I say that is because obviously X39 does everything, but X49 added to that helps with the cardiovascular, system and kind of moving things. You're going to feel like moving with both those patches. You're going to have more energy and you're going to feel like moving, and you'll improve your muscle strength, muscle definition, recovery. I think that will make the cardiovascular system work better. Everything seems to work better when you combine those two patches. I think that's a great way to sort of see if you can get everything working better in the body. And that may help the swelling in the legs as well.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, Michael, wife only has a little bit of her optic nerve left, needs to lower eye pressure to single digits. Her field of vision is narrowing. Can we repair the optic nerve or keep what remains from getting worse?
Well, I'll tell you a couple of stories. I'm a story sharer, right?
Yay, we love your stories.
So, Connie Lucas, who brought me into LifeWave, one of my really dear friends, she shared that one of her gentlemen that used just the stem cell patch he had been diagnosed with a couple of eye conditions, one with increased eye pressure, the other one was a degenerative condition of the eye. And a year after using that one single patch, he went back and they couldn't even see the condition he had before. And it's been 2 years now. He's gone back a second time and they continue to not see what was diagnosed in his chart before. Now, my mom, who's much older than this gentleman, what we did with her is I went on YouTube and I looked up, eye conditions and how we might help her with her vision issues. And Dr. Karen Kahn, which is one of the docs that I saw, recommended using at night IceWave, because you don't want to put energy in here. It's just to move the energy back and forth from the positive and negative poles of these patches. So I use that for my mom at night with carnosine on each side of the eye. When I took her for her eye exam this year, her eyes had improved, and the physician was thrilled. And he actually changed her prescription because her prescription needed to be, it was the one that she had she needed one that was not as strong for her vision.
Oh my God.
She was not reading for a whole year. She's back to reading. She's back to making puzzles. She's back to cooking again because she couldn't read the recipes very well. She's back to cooking and making the recipes. And so it's amazing at her age that she's got her life back. So yes, can that get better? Certainly have seen it with my mother, and we've seen it with other people as well.
I've heard an amazing story of a 92-year-old who, she had lost her ability to drive, and she started wearing glutathione and carnosine, and she went back to the ophthalmologist. He says, I have never seen this condition reverse, ever. And we, like I said to my eye doctor, in your world, but my world is different. So we know that everything can get better. And isn't that wonderful? Well, I just want to invite those of you that want your questions to be asked to share it before the bottom of the hour, because we're already through our time and we still always have questions left. So if you have questions you want, get them in early, you guys, and we'll make sure we cover them. So Ann, thank you, thank you, thank you. Always a treat and a joy and a wonderful education being with you.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate that.
I love it. And thank you all for joining us this evening. Thank you, Gregory, for that wonderful presentation. And if you're new this evening and you're just checking us out, our invitation is to don't just check us out, but try it out. The products do come with a guarantee, and get back to the person who invited you. If you just want them for yourself, we have a wonderful customer program that just got even better. Just this April 1st, it just launched. Very exciting. And for those of you that like to share, we have a generous compensation as a brand partner. So please get back to the person that invited you and get yourself started. And then you can share your wonderful stories too. So thank you everyone for being with us this evening, and we will complete our call. Bye-bye.